Hey friends, today I am keeping it real, sharing with you my family's intense experience with COVID-19. It started on a Thursday morning. I was in my bedroom putting some laundry away. There was nothing in the air unusual, and I heard my mom call my name. She was in the next room in her bedroom, and I just thought, oh geez, what did one of the kids do now to make her yell? Then she yelled my name again. I stopped what I was doing, and then I heard a thump, 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 thump. Ran to her room, and my mom had collapsed. She fainted, and she was unconscious. So I prayed over her, and I called 911. Paramedics were there within minutes, and we were off to the hospital. Fast forward, we're in the ER. Hours go by. They're testing her, not finding anything going on with her vitals or any other reason why she would have fainted. So the situation at the hospital, though, is there are no visitors allowed outside of the ER. So I can't leave the ER and come back. And once she gets transferred into a room, I can't stay. She can have nobody with her. And they did want to keep her overnight. So at one point, after about 7 hours in the ER together, I was ready to faint, and so I had to say goodbye to my mother and just trust that they would take good care of her, and that I would be able to communicate a lot with the doctors on the telephone. Said goodbye, walked out that door, and there was no going back. And I thought, this is so strange that she can be in there and no one can access her. No one can actually be there to know what's going on, to talk to the caretakers, and to be a patient advocate, which we know is so important, now, as the doctors and nurses are very busy people. But I had to leave it in the hands of the healthcare professionals and in Jesus, and I had to go. But it did make me think more about the people who had to say goodbye to loved ones at the hospital doors and didn't ever get to see them again. And it really hit home to me just what a terrible injustice that is to families, and what a deep hurt and grief that our country is going to require at the end of all of this. And so I went about going home and about my day, and they kept her overnight while she was in the hospital. Of course, she got tested for coronavirus, and her test came back positive. So my mom is now in the hospital, COVID positive, had fainted. Nobody knows what's going on. I start to get sick at this point, so I'm at home and I'm getting the chest pressure and the chills and the coughing and definitely fatigue. But I wasn't sure. Some of that fatigue could have definitely been from spending the day in the hospital and all the stress of the concern about my mother. But with her being positive and me having all the other signs, especially the chest pressure was absolutely noticeable, and coughing, which lasted for about half a day, not even a whole day of the coughing, but the chest pressure did linger and the fatigue definitely lingered. So I'm at home, I'm sick with, I'm presumed positive for COVID at this point because she tested positive. I'm having the signs. It's safe to assume at this point that we have the virus. And then I start to read about what might be going on with my mom. I start to read about COVID and brain function and the nervous system. And I start to get some scary information. Of course, there's an absolute vacuum of research right now, and all of the stories are anecdotal, and it's all theory. But I'm taking it in, and I notice that it starts to affect me. I feel my heart rate start to raise up, and I feel it like fear closing in on me, like a gang of muggers surrounding me. And I said, whoa, not doing this. Stopped reading, because this is a battle, right? This is a battle that I've been training for, though, to not let fear get into my mind. And when I noticed it coming, I knew what to do. I stopped and I went to what I know is true, which is the Word of God. And I said, you know what? God's promises are true. He is faithful. He is good. That's what I'm going to think about. But at the same time, there's my mom in the hospital. I'm sick. And right along with that gang of fear closing in on me was a tap on the shoulder. That was guilt. And that tap on the shoulder was saying to me, this is your fault. You had to stand up for freedom. You had to go out in the world and live free, and now look what you've done. You did this to her. And again, because I've been training to recognize the lies of the enemy, I said, whoa, okay, let's take a look at this. Because, I strive to be a person of integrity, and so taking responsibility for my actions is important to me. So I'm saying, let's take a sober look at the reality here. Is this my doing? Am I responsible for my mom's health crisis right now? I had to bring it to Jesus, and I had to talk with him about this and grapple with this situation, because this is what we're all not wanting to face, right? This is the situation we don't want to be in. We don't want to be in a situation where we're responsible for someone else being hospitalized with a scary disease. This is exactly the situation I found myself in. Is this my responsibility? And I came to Jesus, and he corrected my thinking immediately, reminding me, hey, little human, you don't have the power over life and death. I have that. You trusted me. You followed me here. I've got this. And if you've been following me, or if you know me in real life, you know that from the beginning of all of this, I have been prayerful and seeking spiritual wisdom about how to handle the restrictions that are being put upon people because of the COVID-19 scare. And time again, Jesus has called me to stand up for freedom, to stand on the front lines and empower people and show people that we can walk in freedom. That my mission in life before and during this pandemic is to help people to break free from all kinds of bondage, internal and external, so that they can live the full and abundant life that Jesus died for them to live, so that they can be free from the bondage of the fear of death. That is the call on my life. And all throughout this, the twists and turns of these restrictions over the months, I have stopped and I have asked, and I have consistently got confirmation that yes, you are to walk free. No, you are not to wear a face mask. You are to shine the glory of God through your face, and you are to take the hits as they come. They will persecute you because they persecuted me. That's my call. So I went into this prayer time with Jesus, and I said, okay, I know I've done the right thing. I've walked, I've followed you. You're confirming to me right now that, yes, I followed you here. Now what, Jesus? Now what? Look at where we are. What is going on? And then I just needed more than just prayer at that point. I needed Jesus to be there. And God gave me a vision. And I got this vision, and it was me and my mom with Jesus in between us. And we were on like an outrigger. I don't even really know if I know what that is, but something in the ocean coming off of a boat, like a plank of some sort. And there we are, and so we're touching the water. We're just at the surface of the water. We're standing on this thing. I'm on one side of Jesus, she's on the other side of Jesus. And let me tell you, this Jesus was no skinny desert walking Jesus. This was big, buff, carpenter, house building Jesus, brick hauling Jesus. He was strong, and he had a grip on us that was unwavering. And there we are in the ocean, and my prayer to Jesus was, look, fine, you called me to stand in the front lines. You called me to walk in freedom. And I volunteered for that. I followed you and I signed up for it. And I said, yes, I will stand in the front. I will take the hits. I will take the persecution. I will take the hate. And it was hard because, I mean, even my family, you know, some of them don't understand and don't agree with the way that that I conduct my life through this dedication to freedom. And even some of my church family, you know, not only the public are against those of us who stand for freedom, but our own families, our own church families, they don't understand. They're not on board. So it can be very hard and very lonely. But I heard a great quote this weekend from an African church planner that said, if God hasn't called you to something hard, then you haven't heard from God. So here we are. So I get this vision, and we're on the outrigger, and Jesus is there in his white robe, and my mom is there, and he's holding on to us. And I said, this is my storm to face, but not her. She's innocent. She's a stand-byer, you know, bystander. And Jesus is there, he's holding me, and the waves, and we're facing a storm, and the waves are coming at us, and the rain, and it's dark, and it's gloomy, and it's just hitting us hard. And there's my mom, and she has a cushion of air around her, and the waves and the storm are coming towards her, but they don't hit her. They just go right over. It's, you know, it's this Spirit of God force field on her. And throughout the next few days, whenever I would get nervous or scared about, you know, what was going on, and that the Holy Spirit would bring that picture to my mind, that Jesus just gripping me. I mean, like I've never been gripped before, holding on to both of us, unmovable in this storm, taking the hits with Jesus while my mom is covered with protection. And at the end of it all, my mom came home. She never developed any of the typical COVID symptoms, never got the respiratory issues, no fever, none of that. She was a little tired, but so was I for several days. And within a week, you know, we were bouncing back to full strength. And I saw how Jesus was so faithful. I followed him there. He took me through. It was a hard thing, but he was there, and he was faithful, and he was good, and he kept his promises. And I know that people probably wonder, you know, knowing that our family had kind of a hard time with, you know, COVID taking my mom straight, you know, into the hospital. People wonder, do I regret, you know, living my life in freedom and living that full and abundant life and going out and encouraging others to find freedom in Jesus and live that abundant life? Do I regret that? Do I wish I had stayed home and wore masks and been safe? I'm going to honestly say no way. And I don't know if Jesus is calling you to walk in freedom. I just know that he's calling me to that. Jesus talks to each of us individually. And so I'm not here to say everyone should do it my way, not by a long shot. But what I do want to say is if Jesus is calling you, he will be faithful. It will be hard. It will be amazing. I can testify all day long to the goodness of God. He never lets me down, and he's not going to. So yeah, I'm going to keep following him. And, you know, discipleship is hard. Some disciples were stoned to death. Some disciples, you know, are elevated with large platforms and large churches and material blessings. But no matter what, if I follow Jesus, he will be faithful, and I've got a place in heaven, and that's what I'm looking for. So yes, I'm going to keep following him. I'm going to keep encouraging people to break out of the bondage of the fear of death, because that is why Jesus came and died for us, so that we would be free from the bondage of the fear of death. Get free. Keep it real. I love you guys.